Your last video talked about how to create a value scale, which is at the top of your value practice worksheet. Now we're going to move on and we're going to look at the actual little mini images of candy and how to go about drawing those images and then adding value. So I'm going to start with a new page. I already created my value scale on top of this, so now I'm going to move down. And before I can go about adding value, I first have to draw what's called the contour. Contour is another vocabulary term that you will need to know on your unit test. Contour is a fancy way of saying the outlines. So if you think of a coloring book is just made of a bunch of contours. And then you add colors in it to fill in. We're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to do a bunch of contours of the image that we'll be later coloring in with our value scale. So, in order to go about doing my contours, I want to try and be as accurate as possible. I'm going to use a process called gridding, which is another term that you'll need to know. Gridding is breaking down your image so that you're only working with a little bit at a time. To grid, there's up to 4 steps you can take to try and break it down. The 4 steps are X, plus, diamond, and hashtag. On your big project, you will use all 4 of those steps. But this is just our little mini practice. So, we don't need all of the steps for a mini image. Instead, all we need are the first 2, X and plus. To do this, I'm going to grab a ruler and I'm going to begin creating my X. So, lightly with a pencil so I can erase it, I'm going to create a large X from each of the corners. And you must do these in order or else it won't work. Because now that I've created an X, I know where the middle spot is, and from that middle spot, I'm going to be able to create a plus. My plus should go straight up and down, so I can tell that it's straight by matching up the top of my ruler with that top line on my worksheet. Or you could do it with the top of your page. Same thing over here. Match the side of my ruler with the middle point and the side with the side of the page. Perfect. Now I've created my grid, so I've broken down my paper, so my little mini image, into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 mini papers instead of one large one. I also need to do that on my image over here. So, once again, I'm going to start with my X, going all the way from one corner to the other corner. Make sure you can see it. And then from that middle part, I can then do my plus, matching up the edges so that I know that it's straight up and down. And side to side through the middle. Then I can number this one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, making sure my numbers match up. 5, 6, 7, 8. So now instead of having one large image that I have to try and draw, I have 8 small triangular images that are much more manageable. After I have my grids, I'm ready to start drawing those contours. I can use my grid to figure out where lines are supposed to go within my image. There's 2 ways that you can do this. I can either just focus on one rectangle at a time, so I could just focus on, or one triangle at a time, so I could just focus on this triangle and try and recreate this triangle over here. prefer to do is to use the grid as a guideline to find where my main shape is. So, for this, I would break down whatever my image is into a main shape. This Hershey's bar looks much like a big rectangle, so that'll be my main shape. To create the rectangle, I need to find the four corners of the rectangle. So, I can use my grid, and I know that the far upper left corner is in my triangle 1, right on the edge, so I can make a dot for there. My other corner is going to be in triangle 4, right above that on the edge. Triangle 8 has a corner. Triangle 5's corner is actually off the page, so I'll make one off the page. Then all I need to do is connect those lightly. You always start by drawing lightly so you can erase if you need to. And now I know where the main part of my Hershey's bar is going to go. Next, I can do another shape. So I see almost a half triangle there. I see it starts in part 1. It goes into triangle 5 and then ends right about on the edge of 5 and 6. Then I can create that contour line. I'm just simplifying my shapes. Now I can simplify this and continue the shape into part 2. Continue it over, and then it goes up a little bit and back down. And finally there's a line that's going to go just a little bit right there. And I'm just going to keep doing this and simplifying the shapes until I have my main contours. When I'm ready to do something a little more challenging, like the lettering on the Hershey's, I first like to create a large box around where the letters are going to go to help me be able to space out the letters correctly. So, I'm going to make a box that goes all the way around where these letters will be. And you draw lightly so you can erase. And then I'm going to break down my letters and find out how many I can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half, 6 and a half. And so now I can break this into 6 spots. So if I break it in half, and then break this down, a little room for that little apostrophe, and then here's where my S will go, and break this down. Now I know each letter will fit into here. So my R can go inside of that box. My S can go inside of that box. Then comes my H, my E, my Y, apostrophe, and S. It takes some time to practice using contours and grid lines in order to really understand, but just keep working at it. Break it down into larger shapes first, and then you can start to do smaller shapes, such as the smaller lettering. Don't worry about the teeny tiny details on this assignment. I don't need you to worry about those teeny tiny parts because that's not what the assignment's about. The assignment's really to make sure that you know how to use gridding, contours, and value. So now that you have your gridding and contour done, you're ready to move on to the value part. So that's the next video.